Happy Sunday afternoon, Blue Demons. Welcome to our afternoon edition of Get to Know DePaul. Today we'll be talking with Marty McGivern from Study Abroad. But before we get started, as a reminder, you have the opportunity to check into our streams. You can check in anytime before September 11th for your opportunity to win one of our stainless steel Lincoln Park map water bottles. So when either now or at the end of the stream, I'll put the screen back up. But you can scan the QR code pictured here, again, for your chance to win one of those bottles. So we'll go ahead and get started. So Marty, thanks so much for taking the time to join us this afternoon.
Happy to be here. Welcome to DePaul, everybody who is new.
Yeah, so for those of you who may be watching for the first time, Get to Know DePaul is a streaming series we're doing during Welcome Week that provides deep dives into different programs and services that you can take advantage of while you're a student here at DePaul. So today we're talking a little bit about study abroad. So Marty, as we get started here, how about you start with a little bit about yourself, how long you've been at DePaul, and maybe why you chose to come to DePaul in the first place?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I'm Marty McGivern. I'm the director of Study Abroad. I have been at DePaul for 8 years. I grew up in Chicago in the suburbs, so I always knew DePaul. My grandfather actually went to DePaul. He's actually in the Athletic Hall of Fame for when we used to have a football team. And I had other family members, aunts, uncles, cousins who went to DePaul, so I always knew DePaul. But when it came time for me to look for a job in Study Abroad, which is my field, I wanted to work at a school where global experiences were prioritized and really important for our students, but also where we had a student population, a diverse student population, including historically marginalized populations that hadn't studied abroad so much in the past. And so DePaul really puts all of those together for me. And it's a fantastic community to be a part of.
That's great. See, I didn't realize that DePaul actually had a football team. I've seen the bookstore shirt that says like undefeated since 1898, but it sounds like there actually was a team.
There was actually a team. It was short-lived, but there
was. Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Man, those must be some great stories. Which suburb are you from?
I'm from Wilmette.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm from Darien. So my family still lives out there as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, nice. So, Marty, how about you take a couple minutes here and tell our students what Study Abroad is? What does it mean, and what does your office do?
Absolutely. So my office sends students to other countries for academic purposes. We run 80 plus programs every year, and I'd like to say Study Abroad looks like one exact thing, but it actually can be a lot of different things. So in these programs, these 80 plus programs, we send more than 1,100 students every year to usually more than 40 countries. Some of these programs are what some people think traditional study abroad is, where you go and enroll for a quarter or a couple of quarters or a whole year in an international partner institution. You take all your classes there and live like a regular student in that country. We send a lot of students to do that. We send even more students on short-term faculty-led programs where you take a class on campus, maybe in the fall quarter, and then you and your classmates and your professors would travel over, for example, the December break for 1, 2, or 3 weeks and really bring to life the things that you have been studying that fall quarter. Sometimes you come back and take a class upon return. So those programs we run over the December and spring breaks and summer as well.
That's great. What types of countries do our students study abroad in?
Yeah, goodness, lots of them. The majority of our students go to countries in Western Europe for sure, but we send a number of students also to Japan, to India, to Mexico, and kind of a number of other places.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about some of it sounds like the shorter sessions that are afterwards. How long does a typical study abroad session go for?
Sure. So like a typical in the short-term session, where it's combined with a class on campus, that travel is the length of the break. So the spring break programs are usually like 10 days. The December programs, we still allow for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so those are usually more like 2 weeks. When students go for a longer, like a full quarter or a year, typically that's on the semester schedule because that's what most international places or international countries work on. So that's usually somewhere between 3 and 5 months.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's really, I think it's great to know for students too that you also can pick your experience based on how long or how short you want to really be immersed in that culture as well. So I think that's a really important factor for students to know. I think sometimes the students that I talk to make this assumption that the only option for study abroad is to go away for 10 weeks. But I think it's really important for them to remember, like, not every study abroad experience is the same.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot goes along with that too. I mean, that's one of the things we do in a lot of advising. We kind of say we have all these options and then ask students like, what's important to you? What are the goals? What are the things that you're trying to get out of this? And then do you have any barriers? Do you have to be careful about, which classes you're going to take and how they fit into your degree progress? Do you need to be aware of financial concerns? Can you only, for whatever reason, be away for a certain amount of time? And then we kind of connect you in and can recommend a few programs for you.
Yeah, and I think, Marty, that displays a really important additional feature that happens in study abroad. The staff in study abroad help along the way. It's not just like you sign up and then suddenly you get on a plane and go. I imagine you all help from the exploration of where to go to ensuring that they have the right paperwork to what happens when they get back, right?
Correct. Like we literally run a study abroad 101 session every single day. And that's just 30 minutes of where a current student who studied abroad before says, here was my experience and here's kind of how that shows how this process whole works. And here are all the things you should be thinking of. And then once you get interested in a particular program or a set of programs, you'll get assigned to an advisor who will work you through that, and then application to getting ready to go to while you're abroad. And then even we have a number of programs for students once they return.
That's great. And I think that feature of the checking in on students while they're abroad too, I think is really important. It's not like, again, you just don't say you're on a plane, see ya. I've always been really impressed with study abroad, how they're monitoring things throughout the world, like seeing what's going on in different regions, checking for trends and different things. I think it's a great service that you all provide to our students who are abroad as well.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. You'll definitely hear from us a lot.
Yeah. So obviously, I think probably the $100 question here. We're talking about study abroad in the middle of a pandemic. So is study abroad still an option for students, or is it something that they have to consider later on in their college experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm really excited to be a part of DePaul at this time. Because we haven't just widespread canceled programs. We're reviewing them literally one by one in enormous detail to see what is feasible and safe for our students and what's not. So we canceled for this fall, we canceled a large number of programs, most of our programs, but there are a few programs and a few students who this is really the right experience for them, that we've been able to come up with emergency plans. So that they're able to study abroad, and we have some students abroad right now, and some who will be departing shortly. And another thing that we're offering this year, some of our programs can be adapted to a virtual format. So we have some that are doing online classes at prestigious partner institutions, and we have a couple of groups taught by DePaul faculty that are going to do virtual experiences. Those are coming up in the fall and December, but we're recruiting at this point now for programs that will start later in the year. And over the next couple of months, we're going to evaluate those. Some will certainly be canceled. Some we hope to offer in virtual format, and some we'll be able to send students abroad, hopefully as long as it's safe for our students and they want to do it.
That's great. That actually, I think, brings up another question. How far in advance do students have to, commit to studying abroad if they're interested in doing it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, a study abroad application deadline is about 6 months before travel. So the next one coming up is a November 1st deadline, and that will be for travel and virtual programs for spring break and for spring quarter.
Gotcha. That's great. So obviously, one of the other things that students might be curious to hear about is, how do they learn more? How do they interact with study abroad? How can they learn about those experiences? And do you all have anything on your fall docket that students can plan for or anticipate that they should attend?
Yeah, so we're having the first time this year. Actually, we're really excited. We've launched this initiative called Global Fall at DePaul. You'll see it on our website and other places too. So across the Division of Global Engagement, we're going to offer a number of virtual programs throughout the quarter. But the real kickoff to this is Study Abroad Week, which is going to be the third week of school, September 21st to 25th. And we will offer about 20 different sessions on specific topics to help students as you're thinking about study abroad. So you're thinking about, how does this fit into my major? This is what I study, so what are my options for study abroad? Or maybe you're a first-year student, or maybe you're a student of color, or maybe you're an honors student. So we're going to have these sessions just for all these different student populations, and probably a few of them apply to you. We'll have sessions on scholarships, on how do you finance study abroad. And to get students all set up, because if you want to do this, the earlier that you plan this in or really consider this, the more time you'll have, and the better you'll be ready to choose your program for when it's right for you.
Marty, in total, how many study abroad opportunities could a student pick from? Like what's like in the study abroad portfolio?
Sure. So, I mean, we have more than 80 programs, but we have had, we have a couple students who to graduate with like 3 or 4 programs. That's possible. So some students, the first year programs are very popular. Most of you, if you're first year students, will take a focal point seminar, LSP 112. So we offer a number of programs. It's going to be 6 this year of programs where you'll take your focal point seminar on a specific topic that is related to a particular geographic destination. And then at the end of the quarter, you and your classmates, your professor, and a staff member at DePaul who you've been working with the whole time will travel to that destination. And that's how you fill your first year seminar credit. So a number of students who do this in your first year see that travel is really great, and that they learned a lot and then grew a lot during that time. And so a number of those students end up choosing another program in their sophomore, junior, or senior year as well.
That's awesome. And especially, I think the opportunity for first year students to study abroad, that's not something that exists at all universities. So I think it's really unique and different for DePaul students that they have that opportunity to take advantage of it.
It is really unique to DePaul. There's a few other schools who do it, but not many. One thing that I think a lot of students don't expect, as first year students come, they're trying to figure out, what do I get involved in? Who are my people? What's my community? These seminars, it's so funny. Sometimes when you go away with other people, you start to learn a lot about them in ways that you wouldn't, people that you met in other classes or other activities or something. So we found that students in these programs tend to kind of really feel a sense of DePaul community and form some really deep friendships with these people that they've had this very powerful experience with, all happening outside of DePaul, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, well, and that's great to hear, because one of the recurring themes that we're hearing in a lot of these sessions is really about students finding their place, and finding their place at DePaul and finding their people. And I think that study abroad, it's great to hear this is another avenue that they can do that, and they can find that sense of community and sense of belonging that they, may not have felt otherwise. And I think especially the way that some of these classes are designed, we know that a large portion of the fall quarter is going to be a virtual experience, but you get to build these relationships in a virtual environment. And it sounds like particularly those opportunities that are like the over break, that they have a corp class now, and then they can go abroad. It really is a great marriage there. It's this virtual opportunity with this future in-person experience. So I think that's a great opportunity for students to take advantage of.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, Marty, as we're rounding it out here, obviously we've got a lot of first year students and first year to DePaul students, transfer students. So curious if you have any advice for students that either in regards to study abroad or just generally as a student that they should consider and take advantage of.
Yeah, I would say generally as a student, sign up for things, get involved, sign up for a bunch of stuff, and then figure out where you do kind of fit and what you like, and ask for help. This, I think, especially relates to study abroad, but across the institution, I have never worked at another institution with staff members as dedicated at DePaul who want to help and support students. So Speak up, just show up or pop into the Zoom room, and the rest will be taken care of you.
That's great. That's really great advice. So for those of you watching, if you have any questions for Marty, you have the opportunity to just type them in the comments, and they'll show up on screen here in a minute. If there's any final questions as we're rounding out today's stream. But one final thing, Marty, I know the Study Abroad office is located in Lincoln Park, correct? Typically
on both campuses, actually. So we have an office in Lincoln Park in the SAC building, so upstairs from Financial Aid and the Career Center on the 4th floor, and then another office in the Daly building, 14 East Jackson in the Loop. So this fall we're going to be operating virtually. We'll be on campus a bit those first couple weeks, like a lot of other offices, but for the most part, we'll be operating virtually. 9 to 5, you've got our email and our website and our regular phone number. We're gonna have virtual walk-in hours from 10 to 2 every single day, where you can just pop into a Zoom room and talk to somebody right away. And then appointments through Blue Star and email as well.
Great. Well, again, for our viewers, if you didn't catch it earlier, or you missed it on the scroll bar below, the Study Abroad website is studyabroad.depaul.edu. But Marty, thanks so much for taking the time with us this afternoon to talk a little bit about study abroad experiences for our students.
Thanks so much for having me. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. And for everyone watching, just as a reminder, you have the opportunity to check into today's stream by scanning the QR code pictured here. Our next Get to Know DePaul session will be tomorrow morning with the Office of Health Promotion and Wellness. So they will be on the stream tomorrow at 11 a.m. from the student involvement and ResEd Facebook pages. In the interim, you can also see what else is going on during Welcome Week on the Welcome Week website, which is just welcomeweek.depaul.edu. Over this 2.5-week time period, we have about 165 offerings. So there's lots of things going on. So you can find the full schedule of the Get to Know DePaul streams. You can hear about our evening of programs. I'm really excited personally. There's a Learn to Juggle workshop this Thursday that I am weirdly excited to learn how to juggle. So you'll be able to check that out as well. But for everyone watching, be sure to enjoy your Sunday afternoon, and we will see you in the morning. Bye all.